Welcome to episode 188 of Sports Geek. On this week's episode, I discuss high performance, health and technology with Jesper Nyholm from Seven Peaks.
Welcome to Sports Geek, the podcast built for sports digital and sports business professionals. And now, here's your host who is sore, not cardio, Sean Callanan.
Thanks, DJ Joel. Yes, my name is Sean Callanan, and you are listening to Sports Geek, and I am a little bit sore. It was leg day today, and so using the standing desk and doing my best. You are listening to Sports Geek. You might be doing so on Pocket Cast because that's my favourite podcasting app, and if you've been listening long enough, you may have downloaded it, or you might be doing it on Apple Podcasts or Google Play or Stitcher. Please let me know where you're listening to it. Some people actually just listen to it on sportsgeekhq.com. So that shout out earlier about being sore and not cardio was really apt for my guest today. Jesper, being an elite athlete himself, working with the Danish Olympic team and helping people find the best version of themselves at Seven Peaks. It was really great to catch up with him when I was in Denmark in January, and then caught up with him. We had so much to discuss. We didn't actually did the classic thing on my trips: take the podcasting gear and not record the podcast. So we caught up when I got back to discuss what he's been doing. So we'll jump into that interview in a moment. For those of you who haven't, and you're in Melbourne and you're potentially going to the Melbourne International Comedy Festival, I'd love to see you there. Go to seancallanan.com/comedy. I actually did a trial show this week on I'm doing one this Friday, so I'll have done it by the time this episode airs. I'm getting closer. I'm doing the joke a day, as I discuss here with Jesper. So if you are in Melbourne for the Melbourne International Comedy Festival, April 12, April 15 are the shows I'm doing with the school, Hard Knock Knocks. I'd love to see you there. Now, here is my chat with Jesper Nyholm from Seven Peaks. Very happy to welcome back a good friend of mine who was lucky enough to spend some time in Copenhagen, Jesper Nyholm from Seven Peaks and Sport One Denmark. Welcome back to the podcast.
Well, thank you, Sean, and glad to be back. Looking forward to this.
As people listen and know, I carry my podcast gear everywhere, and I never record when I meet with people. And as I said in the intro, I caught up with you and spent some time in Copenhagen, and not once did we pull out the podcast equipment to have a chat. We had many chats on sport, so I wanted to book in a time to catch up with you and let the listeners know, one, what you've been doing. So first of all, for the people who did not listen to you back in episode 64, way back in 2014, can you give us a bit of an explanation of your role at Seven Peaks and Sports One Denmark?
Yeah, sure. Seven Peaks is a spin-off of the Olympic Committee in Denmark. And we have a simple mission. We want to help people live a life where they're peaking 7 days a week in terms of having great work-life balance, living a healthy lifestyle, getting the most out of their skills and abilities. And all of this is possible because of Olympic knowledge that we create in the Olympic Committee. We make that available through a digital platform to all the Olympic partners, employees, and the general population, and in that way create better lives.
And so that was one of the things that we were discussing, and I was very lucky we were able to train at the Danish Olympic Committee in the gym. For those of you who don't know, Jesper is obviously visits the gym a lot, far more than I do, but it was very good to see the facilities. But pretty much what you're trying to do, or what you are doing at Seven Peaks, is bringing that knowledge that is innate, part of the Olympic movement and part of elite sport, and sort of bring it to the corporate world. And I guess the lever that you're pulling is that digital one, and almost trying to gamify health to sort of almost trick people into being healthy via sport and movement.
Yeah, and it's, it's of course it hits me a little when you say trick, because the fact is that it's so tough for all of us to like keep those New Year resolutions going and actually stay healthy, and we just think that the Olympic rings and the knowledge we produce for the athletes on a daily basis is very valuable in terms of helping people stick to their healthy habits. And we're exploring that field and already have some very, very great results in the corporate world.
So I get it. Trick's the wrong word, but I guess it comes back to that gamification, to make a game of it and to form those habits. And it is something that comes second nature, or is it, if not second nature, it's drilled into athletes of these are the things you have to do. These are the stepping stones to success. Habits form success, and that's what you've developed in this gamification of what you're trying to do and get people healthier, get people more active.
Yeah, because there's actually two things that triggered me into starting this. And the first thing was that listening to the Olympic coaches here in Denmark, one thing they told me was that what differs an Olympic athlete from average people is that an Olympic athlete never has more than 2 days in a row that are bad. Yep. If they have 2 bad days, then they're able to adjust. It's a skill set they have. So they have 2 bad days. They have to change the 3rd day in order to progress and become better. And most of us, we can have like 1,000 days eating unhealthy before we say, hey, I might have to change something. Otherwise, I'll explode.
Yep.
So that was one thing. I say, well, can we take that and activate this skill set in other human beings? And the other thing was that I went to those conversations at school with your kid, with the teachers, and the teachers, they go, well, Oliver, my bonus son here, he's having a hard time sitting still for 45 minutes during class. And it blew my mind, because when he gets up Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, turns on FIFA 18 or other application on his Xbox, he can sit there for 10 hours straight, very concentrated, and he's actually getting pissed if I try to get him away and start to eat some healthy food or something.
Yep.
So what is it that this gamified world offers that we're not tapping into when it comes to living healthy and utilizing that? So these two things are like the main ingredients in what we are exploring here, and it's pretty cool to see people flourish from being part of the campaigns we do.
And that's where gamification is. It's for mine, it's an evolving beast, because we've seen it in different forms. And I actually just went back to the dictionary to go, what is gamification for people who don't know? And it's the application of typical elements of game playing, point scoring, competition with others, rules of play in other areas of activity to encourage engagement or product with the service. And, I think the best one is gamification is exciting because it makes the promises to do the hard stuff fun. And, what you're talking about is those hard yards and that habit-forming stuff. And it is a little bit of that Candy Crush, FIFA, whatever, that little reward. Congratulations, you've leveled up in life. We don't get little Super Mario, little coins for doing these things. And that's sort of what you're trying to do, to give them that little reward to say, keep going. It becomes habit, then it just becomes what you do.
Exactly. And it's the beauty of taking these game mechanics and applying them in a sports / health content world, is that when people then are engaged and they experience more than just getting coins in Super Mario, they actually experience losing weight, getting more fit and stuff. This also creates loyalty. This also creates gratefulness towards the brand that's promoting these services and this gamification. And we see that for among the partners when we are you doing these campaigns, that the employees at our partners, well, their work-life balance is increased, and their job satisfaction is increased by 38%, and this creates lower churn in the employee staff, and all these side benefits that comes along. It's quite valuable for businesses, and of course then for the sporting committee here, that is the one getting all the loyalty in the end.
So take us back to that, because it's yes, it is a platform and a gamification platform and all those things, but really it's it is a campaign and a sponsorship tool for the Olympic Committee, and that's pretty much how it's being used to engage either a large employee base or a large customer base through the tool to have that greater good of health and fitness and those kind of things, but doing it in partnership with a brand. That's primarily the business driver of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and you see, at least in many parts of Europe, the sports franchises, corporations, leagues and stuff, they're struggling with creating great sponsorship value, because, getting the banners up and getting the halftime commercial stuff going and the POS materials and stuff, well, that's fine. Beers and tickets always work, but it's just not enough. Companies want us to tap into their business and help their business grow, not just create visibility and hospitality. And in that mesh, we come in and tackle one of the biggest challenges in this century, that actually Gallup has predicted that in 2033, healthcare expenses for companies would surpass wages. So we have tremendous opportunity here to go in and say, hey, sport is actually healthy. The skill set we are training our athletes in is valuable as an asset, as a sponsorship asset. We can go and deploy this in a company and help people have a winning culture, create a better and more healthy environment. And our sponsors will then have a better business. And this is, at least in most part of Europe, this is a new type of sport marketing tool. Yep. And it's built in sports, because sports is healthy. I know elite sport might not be as healthy as it could be, but for the average person getting physical active and stuff, it's so valuable.
So how do you go about, effectively, you're out there making a new market, offering a new product, offering a new way of thinking? How do you, and you can present your own ROI of healthier employees means less healthcare expenses. It does affect your bottom line, but that doesn't match up with a traditional sponsorship partner or a sponsorship executive at a brand that does want, a stadium activation, or does want signage, or does want, giveaways or fill out forms and give away prizes. How hard has it been, I guess, helping rewire that thinking to get to say, this is your ROI? It's different to media buy, data capture, that kind of thing. It has a longer term gain. It's a much tougher. I would assume it's a much tougher sell than, hey, we've got a really great product. We're going to put your logo on this product, and it's going to drive past all these customers.
And it's a great question, because it definitely took us some time in the Olympic Committee to figure out how to address this at a sponsor. Because normally you go into a marketing department and they will be looking for the media buy, and they will be looking at views and counts and all that stuff, the vanity metrics. They'll look at that. But when we then propose this and say, well, your sponsorships shouldn't just be for your customers or for your key account managers, we then open up the door to the human resource department, and actually all the way up to the CEO, because he's the guy or she's the woman who wants to create a winning culture. We want to change the culture of the organizations so that the sponsorship is a part of the DNA of every single employee in the company. And in that way, we both broaden the spectrum and also the financial capability, because we have more budgets to work with. And we also make sure that the sponsorship is way more valuable to everybody in the organization. In that way, even harder to dismiss or change to another sponsor property. So sorry.
No, I mean, the thing is, you've got a stat where, years of life gained of, people who participate. And so that very much fits into, what HR tried to do on employee wellness and health and balance. And you're right, your offering is not a traditional offering in that, HR is being served, and there would be professional development or wellness programs that they would run that your program effectively runs across. So it is a bit of shuffling the accounting, so to speak, to say, well, your HR department was going to spend X on this program. Our sponsorship activation actually serves that purpose and ticks that box for you. So that's the conversations you're sort of having?
Exactly. And we can even combine that with the CSR, the corporate social responsibility tick box. Every company is very, very concerned about, that we're not using child labor, that we are the carbohydrates track we're leaving behind and stuff, but also that we want to take good care of our employees and stuff. You want to market that. And what better way than to embrace your every single employee in Olympic values, getting bigger, stronger, and faster together. It's very beautiful, but I don't think this is only for the Olympic Committee. I think every sports business in the world has a unique knowledge about competing and being the best possible version of yourself, because that's what it takes to win as a sports team. You have to be in great shape. You have to be able to work together. And this knowledge is valuable to all your sponsors. And I just don't see many companies or sports professionals actually doing a commercial effort on making an income on this. And so that's our sweet spot.
It definitely is, because it steers away from what is sometimes both terrific, but then also can be a real problem, that everything is tied to the on-field product. That all these sponsorships are tied to the on-field product. So when the on-field product is amazing and the stadium is full and the sponsors are lining up around the park, then everything's great. But then if the performance falls away, then so potentially could the sponsorship. Whereas what you're discussing and what you're doing at Seven Peaks is it's year-round engagement. It's a way to have your fans, customers, employees engage with an elite brand year-round and completely independent of the on-field results.
Completely, and you can even say many teams, they're struggling with off-season content. And this could be something like let's get in shape pre-season with the team.
Yep.
Let's engage all the fans and let's have a campaign 12 weeks where we train with the team in a virtual world and get ready for the season. We could even challenge our worst competitor and their fan base on this and create a lot of content, because that's the other thing here, Sean, is that the platform itself is about you delivering a lot of healthy data. So for example, you every day you report how many pieces of fruits and vegetables, how many minutes of exercise you're doing, if you slept your 7 hours, and all these things. And this is user-generated content. And as a sports business, you have the distribution network to make this content available. I mean, to even share with other sponsors and say, hey, look at this. Our fan base is a combination of 30 years old women who wants to live and eat in that way, and maybe that's an opportunity of creating new sponsorships. Because you know a lot more about your fans than just how many beers and what car they're driving and if they're engaged in tailgating and so. So it's more qualitative data created, and you're building a fan base with actually helping each individual fan to become the best possible version of themselves. It's to me, it's a no-brainer why everybody should be doing something like this.
And the thing is, as you get a healthier fan base, it potentially opens up new sectors of sponsorship that previously weren't there. If you've got a motivated, engaged fan base that wants to get healthy, then potentially you could be drawing in healthy sponsors and healthy sponsorships that further that goal, because you've got this motivated crowd.
Yeah, and believe me, the motivation is insane in these campaigns, because it's so easy to use these game mechanics we discussed earlier to create the stickiness. We have, and on average, 80% of the people that signs up for these campaigns, they complete the campaign with reporting every single day on the website or through the app in an 8 or 10 week campaign. So the engagement is amazing, and we have people losing like 24 kilos in 10 weeks, or being able to run their first 5K, or just a lot of great stories to promote through social channels during and after.
And do you think over from when we spoke and we met in 2013, I think it was, do you think the advance of wearables and fitness tracking devices, and the fact that they're just more prevalent now, that the fact that people are stepping on scales that are weighing them and telling their app, and this idea of quantified self that people are becoming more and more comfortable with, do you think that helps and is further given more ammunition and more momentum to what you're doing?
Definitely. I mean, we've seen that the market has matured drastically. And that's both the companies we're working with, their employees, but also when we do business-to-consumer campaigns for just local citizens around in Denmark. We see that they have all the equipment, they have demands on and ideas about how to track their health. They're much more educated than just 4 years ago. It might not be all great education, but it helps, keeps the motivation going that you have these wearables.
Yep.
And of course we integrate to that as well.
And that's the thing. I think I have mentioned it previously. Jerry Seinfeld's productivity hack, which is he gets a big calendar out and he has to write a joke a day, and he puts an X on the calendar every time he writes a joke, and it sits there, it's on his wall, and if he goes to bed and there's a gap there, he doesn't want to break the chain. And so he sits there at 11:45 and writes a joke, and I'm currently trying to do that myself, trying to write a joke a day up until my comedy festival show. And it's very hard, but the idea, and this is what you're talking about with gamification, it's his own gamification tactic. He doesn't want to break the chain, and he does it to make it fun, but also to take a bit of the drudgery out of the task. They go, well, I'm doing it because I've got to tick it off, and that's what you're finding with Seven Peaks and the people involved in the campaigns.
Yeah, exactly. And we use a lot of those, not just Seinfeld's signature move there,
yep.
but a lot of different aspects. We have weekly themes that engage on different levels. And we have a lot of small competitions within the larger competition.
Yep.
And it all just attracts attention from the participants, and we know that if we keep people, when we get people on board, and we get them past week 4 of the campaign, they'll pretty much stick to the end, and they will send a great thank you note in the end. And 92% of the 200,000 people we've had through this campaign software would recommend others to do this when we're done. So it just works, and it's not rocket science. It's simply based on the same thing as I mentioned, FIFA 18 and other stuff. It keeps you engaged, but with a healthy benefit as well.
One of the things that we did discuss it was effectively mid-January, back at the height of the cryptocurrency and blockchain hype, was just health and the blockchain and some of the concepts of the blockchain and how it could potentially be used in gamification and those kind of things. Not just throwing in here just to get more listeners and because it's a buzzword, but for you, do you think it applies in this e-health gamification space?
Definitely, and we see these health coins, sweat coins, beats coins showing up, surfacing everywhere right now, and creating a lot of venture capital income, and and it is a buzz, but we've taken quite another approach to this, but we're in the space. The thing we're going to do about it and is to think a little about, well, when you're doing these campaigns and following a 7 Peaks or a National Olympic Committee program, well, you're part of a sponsorship that typically lasts until the next Olympic campaign or next Olympic Games, next one being in Tokyo in 2020. So the partners we engage here, well, when you're doing human resource management in a company, the problem is always that, well, we can create campaigns like this and the engagement will be fantastic. And when the campaign then ends, then what? Yep. Then how can we progress from here and create and maintain this healthy change? And that's where we see the cryptocurrency, the Olympic coin, as we call it, step in. So in the framework we've built, what we're doing is that we're actually creating a currency, an Olympic currency, and whether or not it will become a specific cryptocurrency is yet to be determined. But then the company or the sponsor and the Olympic Committee can add activities throughout the entire Olympic period, and then put a value on each healthy activity. So, for example, going to the corporate gym, that will earn you a coin. Competing in this campaign will earn you a coin. But competing and maybe going through the Olympic Winner Academy, that's a service we also provide. Well, that will give you coins. And based on the amount of coins you get, you can transfer this to Olympic merchandise, or you can, and it even serves as a ticket in a great lottery for a competition about tickets to the Olympic Games in Tokyo. So that's the start of it from our behalf. And I think eventually this will be a cryptocurrency because it just makes so much sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think, when I spoke to Steve Sammartino about blockchain and crypto and where it fits, we sort of did start touching on the loyalty space. And, I think his analogy of, now I'm going to get this right, blockchain is the internet and cryptocurrencies are the websites, is a really good one. And if you sort of actually take the currency piece out of it and just go back to it is token-based, and the whole idea of, because when people hear currency, they hear money, and it can be that, but it's really, these tokens. And again, it's what you're currently doing. Do these actions, get rewarded. And so it does give you the option of, do these healthy actions get rewarded? Do these sponsor actions get rewarded? Do these attendance actions and get rewarded? And then how those tokens are claimed is, again, up to you as the platform. And then the other side of it is from the data, because one of the big issues around gamification, and as someone who built a gamification tool many years ago, is people cheating, like cheating the game. And as soon as you put rewards up, then the reward to cheat grows with it. So I think the whole idea of the blockchain and the checks and balances that it provides as a technology is also where you can go to a sponsor and go, we know you're not going to be giving away this many tokens, and have some security in that space. So yeah, it's still like we were again commenting on it when the buzz was really at its height, and then I think I got on the plane, left Copenhagen, and my portfolio halved by the time that I landed back in Australia. But I'm holding. But yeah, I'm more excited about the I guess the applications, and you've got to have a market of where people are using and doing things, which is why, speaking of Rail Sood at Unicorn and their esports gaming raffles and interest in game, they've already got a community of people using their tokens before they even went down the path of crypto. And I think the fact that you've had, over 250,000 participants through your system and already have some of those mechanisms, I think it's not a far leap to start looking where that tech applies.
Exactly, and of course, you also have to be curious all the time and explore these fields, because there are so many, and I guess that's the problem in when we're doing the digital thing in sports. It's a train that's just running wild, and we're all trying to jump on every time there's a buzzwords going on, and we have to do this and this and this, and you have to keep exploring, but you also have to manage your way to the caboose and take control of the train.
Yep.
And direct it in the way you want to go as a sports business, and that's a big challenge these days, because there's so many opportunities. So you have to pick carefully and then go pretty much all in when you have decided that it's sound to go in that direction.
So the last piece, because that's, we're sort of talking a bit, in the future space on where you could go. I guess the other part of the future space is where the younger generation, how they view fitness and technology and health, because you're primarily targeting the sedentary, stop being active, unfit. Are you seeing the younger generation engage more or be more willing to lean into to the technology, but to the fitness and looking to be fit? I mean, we've both got sons in the same range from an age group point of view, and my young bloke Reese is going to the gym every week. I wasn't going to the gym every week as a 19-year-old. I think it's just a different generation where they're a bit more focused on themselves than maybe past generations.
Yeah, well, I would like to say that that's the case, but statistics kills my point of view. Obesity and physical inactivity has doubled in the younger generation over the last 15 years, and we are seriously our kids. For the first time in 150 years, the life expectancy of Americans has decreased. So I think we have to, when you do your segmentation and say we want to attack the special kind of target groups, there might be a group that's more physically active and more, holistic oriented in own lifestyle and stuff. But the majority is living more unhealthy than you ever did, eating chips and sour cream. I mean, it's bad out there.
Yeah. Oh well, I'm thankful that my son is actually active. But yeah, I take that on board. As you as the expert, I want to finish up with the Sports Geek Closing 5. Do you remember the first sports event you ever attended?
I remember the one that actually still reminds me of the good old days. and that was I graduated in high school in Titusville in Florida.
Okay.
And my first sports moment of great pride was running a 100 meter in 11.02 seconds and finishing second in a track race, and that was quite the top of my career, as well as the first thing I.
Wow, you officially get the title of the fastest podcast guest. If anyone else can come back with 11:02, no, that's quite a memory. Do you have a favourite food at a sports event? Food memory or a go-to food?
Well, I mean, to me, it was a sport event having you visit us here in Copenhagen.
I've walked into this one.
Yeah, you did, and the pork skin that you just happen to love here in Denmark.
Hang on, I want to get a sense of how badly I mangled it. Flaverstak. Have I said that incorrectly? Flæskesvær. Yeah, I knew I would. But it is amazing. And as I said to Jesper, I effectively am Homer Simpson in real life. So when I found out that it was pork crackle in a bag, I totally expect the next time you see me to bring me a bag of the best stuff. If that was available at every sporting event, I would be there. And unfortunately, yes. I would record it in your app, and then I'd have to run around the stadium about 6 times. But it is delicious.
Yeah, it's a super seller here in Denmark as well.
What's the first app you open in the morning?
That must be Slack.
Slack, just to catch up on what the team's doing and go backwards and forwards?
Yeah, we run every campaign. It has its own Slack universe and Slack channel, and we pretty much that's where things happen. So it's a great tool. I love it.
Yep. So do I. Is there someone that you suggest that the podcast listeners should follow? Maybe someone that you read or keep an eye on or follow on Twitter that you suggest that they do the same?
Well, I have this guy that because I think esport is so amazing. It's interesting. It's blowing up in our face right now, I think.
Yep.
And so the hooligan, the British guy, Tom Halls.
Okay.
We actually had him here in the Olympic Committee talk about what esport is all about and how it's gonna affect the sporting world. And I think he's a great guy to follow on Twitter and other social media.
Hopefully, giving him a mention on the podcast does not affect his job. Every time I interviewed him on the podcast, he's changed jobs. So hopefully, you haven't lifted the Tom Hurl's curse. But yeah, give Tom a follow. He is all over esports. If you want to connect with him, please do so. He's also in the esports channel in the Sports Biz Slack. While I mention it. What about for you? What social media platform is your MVP at the moment?
Well, I like, because a lot of the stuff we do is based on health science. I actually find LinkedIn to be very valuable in terms of following people working in that space.
Yep.
And also a lot of science work is popping up there from different places, and that's quite valuable. Also as a marketing channels for 7 Peaks. So give us a follow in there.
Yes, we'll put Jesper's link to LinkedIn. I completely agree. I've been a long-time fan of LinkedIn, and I think what they've done in the last 18 months, 2 years around pivoting what the content is and making it a bit easier to surface that content and see those people, I think that's been really good. I guess one thing I will ask is a bonus question. Sort of some of the commentary coming out of Facebook's recent changes and sort of them saying they want to drop back brand engagement and help people stay more connected. And there was a lot of chatter and I guess discussion on is Facebook healthy, and the amount of people requiring it almost to addictive nature. Do you have a bit of a take on that, on how much is too much, and whether Zuck pulling that lever to say we want you to show more of your friends and family is going to have an effect on that, or are they pretty much just trying to make sure that their user base is happy, because happy user base helps bring advertising?
Yeah, I actually have a take on that, because it's one of my, cornerstones here is I think that the development we'll see in social media is a social media without a purpose is going to lose in the end.
Yep.
And you can quote me on that, because I mean, Facebook is great. It created the social media term.
Yep.
But there is no purpose. We're not getting better at anything in there. So it's easy to, at some point when it grows this big, then you'll start to have a lot of concerns about it. What about our data? What about our this and that? And what about our kids and the messenger for kids? It's just going to blow up in their own face.
Yeah.
So what I think will happen is like the social media with a purpose, being health or getting better at your job or being a better parent and stuff. These medias, they'll start to surface over time, and it'll be very hard to have the same problems with these medias, because, well, they're doing good. Facebook is not doing anything else than connecting people to make more money. Yep. And that's going to blow up in your face all the time.
We even had the case study just in the recent weeks. I don't know if you ever got onto the platform Vero, that sort of went viral for a couple of days, that pretty much pitched a different way of, I guess, consuming social media and being able to control who you connect with and what you share without having to be this ideal self, which potentially, Instagram promotes. And there was a whole bunch of people getting on it really quickly, clamoring for the next thing. And it remains to be seen where it goes, like the whole hype around it and the fact that it nearly fell over because there was so much hype around it. I think there potentially is a space for what you're talking about, these sort of pockets of, whether they're social media platforms as we know them now, or whether they're, pockets of apps or groups or communities that sort of rally around, I guess, what you're saying, social good, but also what people care about more so. That's going to be they're the people that are going to have to, that will be challenging, I guess, the dominance of Facebook.
Yeah, I think so. And Facebook might be going in that way, in that direction in over time, I think. But they're just grown so big, so it's hard to pivot on that platform.
It's very hard to pivot with 2 billion people. I mean, that's it's very. You put the indicator on, and it'll take you a couple of years to turn around. As finishing up, we mentioned there people can connect with you. One, what's the best way to connect with you, and what channels can people connect with you?
Well, definitely on LinkedIn. Find me at Jesper Nyholm at LinkedIn, and our 7 Peaks company page on LinkedIn as well. If you want to know more about what we're doing, we're sharing some of our findings out there, and could be some interesting points for other sports businesses to pick up. So,
that notification is pretty much tells us that it's time to finish up. So thank you very much, Jesper, for coming on the podcast. I look forward to catching up with you next time, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, and I'll bring some flæskesvær for you, Sean.
Terrific.
Download our Facebook campaigns guide at sportsgeekhq.com/FB campaigns.
Thanks again to Jesper. You can send him a tweet. His Twitter handle is NyholmDK, NYHOLMDK. He's on Twitter. He's on LinkedIn. You can find those in the show notes. Simply go to sportsgeekhq.com/188, and Jesper's also in the Sports Biz Slack. Please join the Sports Biz Slack if you are working in the sports business world, if you're a listener, you're more than welcome. Simply go to sportsgeekhq.com/sportsbiz. I do my best to make sure most of the guests end up in SportsBiz Slack, and they can be reached there. Lastly, just as always, want to make sure that if there's a way that we at Sports Geek can help you, one of the things that we've been doing a lot of lately is helping teams and rights holders review a rate card and develop a rate card to helping them better value their digital work and digital assets. And for us, it comes down to training and working with your team both on the digital side and in the sponsorship side around them developing the knowledge around the digital assets and what potentially sponsors are looking for, and being able to develop your story internally that you can then push out externally. And what I mean by that is, what are you valuing, why it should be of importance to your sponsors, so then you can back up the data and the rates and the why you're selling it for the why you're selling it. Also things like why changes and pivots from Facebook are going to be important to sponsors. As they're going to be restricted in reach, they will be able to attract and reach fans via sports. So that's a big chunk of the work that we're doing at the moment with various rights holders at team, league, and major event level, and sort of figuring out what the value will be where the costs lie, to make sure that you can actually get some returns when you're putting together those pitches. So yeah, if we can help you in that space, please reach out, Sean at sportsgeekhq.com. Also, having a lot of discussions with a few different people in both the professional development space and also the media and comm space around the athlete and the coach training. And so what we're seeing is it's happy to do this is what you should be doing on social media, and this is what you shouldn't be doing on social media for your athletes, which is pretty stock standard. But again, I've sort of said it's not. I think it's something that should be done annually because the platforms are changing. We're always talking about it here in the podcast and what the changes are, and no one's really keeping the athletes up to date. But one thing that we're also seeing is coaching group training sessions because they're in a different generation. They're not digital natives. They want to know what their players, what platforms they're on, how they're using them, and where potentially some of the dangers are, and maybe what are some of the signs to keep an eye out for. So if you either have a playing group that you want to give a refresher and help them understand what they can and can't do, or if you've got a coaching group that wants a bit of that background so they can better connect with their players, but then also better understand the environment that they're in, please give us a call, or simply go to sportsgeekhq.com/social media athlete training. Or as always, you can send me a tweet at Sean Callanan or email me, Sean at sportsgeekhq.com. That's it for this episode. As always, please get in touch if you're a listener. If you haven't left a review, I'd really appreciate it. It only takes 5 minutes. I know it's actually really painful, but it does actually help more people find the podcast. I'm absolutely thrilled that we've blown past 100 iTunes reviews, and I'd like to see that number be exceeded, and also by country. So I love seeing them from all around the world. So you can simply go to sportsgeekhq.com/iTunes and you can leave a review. Until then, my name is Sean Callanan, and you've been listening to Sports Geek.
Join over 1,000 sports business executives in SportsBiz Slack. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/Slack. Please share your fave episodes of Sports Geek on LinkedIn. Be sure to tag Sean Callanan. Go to sportsgeekhq.com for more sports digital marketing resources. Want to chat with Sean? Book a time for a call. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/phone call.